Imagine yourself 420 million kilometers away from the sun, floating in the cold, endless black of space. The sun, that massive fiery engine that powers our solar system, is now just a pale dot behind you. Here, the rules of physics are absolute, and they've been the same for billions of years. But then, in the deep cold of negative 150 degrees Celsius, something happens that defies logic and every law of thermodynamics. Water ice doesn't sublimate, it doesn't crack, and it certainly doesn't vent into space. Methane crystallizes into solid, and carbon dioxide, which behaves like a solid rock, shouldn't be doing anything. Yet, there it is, staring us right in the face. 3 steady jets, spaced perfectly 120 degrees apart, venting gas into a vacuum where it shouldn't even exist. It's as if the laws of physics are being bent, just like the universe itself is playing some kind of cosmic game. This is no random event. It's a precise, almost impossible anomaly. For decades, we've been taught that this must be a comet, a simple object from the farthest reaches of the solar system. We've seen it all before. When a comet gets close enough to the sun, it heats up and its ices sublimate into gas, creating those iconic jets. That was the theory, the accepted model, the simple explanation we all believed was true. But then something happened. On March 3rd, 2025, a spacecraft called JUICE, Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, launched by the European Space Agency, changed everything. As JUICE cruised through the outer reaches of the solar system, it turned its wide-angle camera on something far, far away, 400 million kilometers away. The image that came back was nothing short of astonishing. The jets were still firing, burning brightly, even though this object was no longer anywhere near the sun. It was far past Mars, in the deep freeze of space. The surface temperature was a staggering negative 150 degrees Celsius, colder than any place where we would expect ice to turn into gas. Now, if you know anything about thermodynamics, you'll understand just how impossible this is. Sublimation, the process where a solid turns directly into gas, is something that requires heat. Heat that comes from the sun or from some external source. But at 2.88 astronomical units, far beyond the frost line where the sun's influence barely reaches, sublimation shouldn't be happening. So, what was generating this energy? Something inside this object was powering those jets, actively producing energy. This wasn't residual heat from the sun. This was a heat engine operating in the cold vacuum of space in an area where natural processes can't support such activity. What's more, this object wasn't just producing jets at random. The 3 jets were perfectly spaced, steady, and glowing with ionized gas. These weren't chaotic plumes from a comet's surface. These were controlled, directed, and deliberate. In the world of aerospace engineering, there's only one thing that fits this description: reaction control systems. The thrusters used on spacecraft to maintain orientation, cancel angular momentum, and stabilize an object in space. That's exactly what we're seeing here. A spacecraft, or something engineered with precision, not a comet. It's actively controlling its direction, maintaining its position, and ensuring it's not drifting randomly through space. And then, to make matters even stranger, the spacecraft didn't just photograph the object, it took things a step further. JUICE ultraviolet spectrograph, one of the most advanced chemical analysis instruments ever sent into deep space, turned its gaze on the object's coma, the cloud of gas and dust surrounding it. What came back wasn't just a normal cosmic reading. The sensor on the spectrograph saturated. It was like a wall of data, a flat line at 1,665 megahertzes, one of the frequencies that is considered a key frequency for interstellar communication. At first glance, this might seem like noise, but it wasn't. The spectrograph didn't just pick up random cosmic interference. It picked up intentional jamming. This object didn't just want to hide from our telescopes. It actively blinded them, sending out a pulse to prevent us from analyzing it further. The data was clear. This is not a natural object. It's something engineered, something active, deliberate, and designed with incredible precision. And as you'll see in the coming parts, this is just the beginning of the mystery. Stay tuned, because we're about to dive deeper into the implications of this discovery, what it tells us about the object's origin, and how it's using the entire solar system to its advantage. The physics don't lie. Every piece of data points to one undeniable conclusion. This is a machine, and it's on a mission. Now that we've seen the jets and the mysterious energy, it's time to dive deeper into the behavior of this object. Its precise alignment and the jamming signal it sent back to JUICE are two of the most telling pieces of evidence pointing to something much more complex than a simple comet or asteroid. Think about this. The object is positioned 400 million kilometers away from the Sunday. That's far beyond the influence of the sun's warmth. And yet, the jets continue to fire with perfect consistency, almost as if they are being powered by some form of internal system. But this isn't where the mystery ends. The most mind-boggling part of this discovery, the object is actively aware of its surroundings. The signal jamming recorded by JUICE's ultraviolet spectrograph tells us a lot about this object's intelligence. When the spacecraft tried to analyze the object's chemical composition, the sensor didn't just fail due to interference. No, it was more than that. The data from the sensor was completely saturated, a continuous wave of energy that lasted throughout the entire scan. Normally, when cosmic rays hit instruments like this, we expect a brief spike followed by a quick decay. But that's not what happened here. The signal wasn't random. It wasn't just noise. It was narrowband and coherent, meaning it was focused and intentional. The frequency? 1,665 megahertz, a frequency recognized by scientists as ideal for interstellar communication. This is the same frequency that scientists like those at SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, use to detect signals from possible extraterrestrial civilizations. In other words, this object didn't just happen to cause interference. It actively detected the incoming scan and deliberately jammed it. Imagine the level of sophistication required for such a system. To generate such a targeted electromagnetic pulse, this object would need to have advanced sensors capable of detecting incoming observations, the computational power to understand the scan's frequency, and the ability to generate a coherent pulse to neutralize it. This isn't something nature can produce. It's something engineered, something with intent. The question is, why? We now have evidence that this object is more than just a mysterious space rock. It is a machine, one that has been designed with incredible precision, capable of interacting with its environment and responding to external stimuli. It's almost as if it knows it's being watched, and it's doing everything in its power to prevent us from fully understanding what it is. But the questions don't end there. The more we look at this object's movements, the more we realize this isn't just an erratic journey through space. No, this is deliberate navigation. The object's trajectory is precise, measured with incredible accuracy. Its path through the outer solar system isn't random. It's been carefully planned, and it's been calculated to intersect with specific points in space, suggesting an incredible level of engineering. One of the most striking features of this object's trajectory is its alignment with the magnetic field of Jupiter. This alignment is no coincidence. It's an exact match to a key magnetic axis of Jupiter's magnetosphere. Why does this matter? Jupiter's magnetic field is the strongest in the solar system, extending millions of kilometers into space. If this object is deliberately aligning with Jupiter's magnetic field, it's using the planet's natural forces to optimize its position and energy interactions. This is a feat of interstellar navigation, not something that can happen by chance. Nature doesn't just decide to use a planet's magnetic field for navigation, but this object does. It's actively using Jupiter's magnetosphere to guide its journey. This is precision navigation on a scale that's unheard of. And it gets even more interesting when you consider the timing. This object seems to be waiting for a specific moment to be observed, aligning itself in such a way that it is visible for just a brief window of time. The moment when Earth-based telescopes can see it, and then, just like that, it disappears again as if it knew exactly when and where it would be visible. It's as if this object is playing a game with us, hiding in plain sight, showing itself for just a moment before retreating into the dark recesses of space once more. This kind of control, this kind of deliberate movement and timing isn't something that happens by accident. We can't talk about this object without discussing the most obvious feature, its jets. These jets are not random, chaotic plumes of gas that we would expect from natural processes. No, these jets are precise, controlled, and directed. They are not the result of random cracks in the object's surface, as you might see with a comet. Instead, they are mathematically spaced exactly 120 degrees apart, forming a perfect triangle in space. This is engineering, plain and simple. When aerospace engineers design spacecraft thrusters, they need to maintain precise orientation and control in microgravity. The thrusters need to be perfectly spaced and carefully calibrated to avoid any rotational drift. That's exactly what we're seeing with this object. These jets are not chaotic. They are deliberate and controlled. And here's the real kicker, thermodynamics. We know that at temperatures as low as negative 150 degrees Celsius, natural processes like sublimation, where a solid turns directly into gas, simply do not occur. So, if the jets are still firing, something else must be powering them, internal energy, not residual heat from the sun. This is where the concept of a heat engine comes in. A heat engine requires a source of energy and a mechanism to convert that energy into work. In this case, the energy powering the jets is coming from inside the object itself, not from the sun or any external source. This is the hallmark of an engineered system. At this point, the evidence is clear. This object is a machine, and it has a defense mechanism that's unlike anything we've ever encountered before. When JUICE attempted to analyze the object's chemical composition, its ultraviolet spectrograph was blinded by an intense, narrowband pulse at 1,665 megahertz, a frequency that SETI researchers would associate with interstellar communication. What's even more remarkable is that this pulse wasn't some random cosmic interference. The object didn't just accidentally block the scan, it actively generated this pulse to jam the spectrograph, preventing it from collecting any usable data. This is intentional interference, and it's clear that the object knows it's being observed. To generate such a pulse requires sophisticated technology, sensors to detect incoming scans, the computational power to understand them, and the energy to generate a coherent, targeted pulse. This is active defense. It's not a natural process. It's something engineered, and it shows that this object is aware of its surroundings, capable of defending itself against observation. As we look at all the evidence, the jets, the electromagnetic pulses, the precise trajectory, and the deliberate concealment, one question remains: what is its purpose? Why is this object here? What is it observing? And why is it hiding its true nature from us? The precision of its movements, the sophistication of its defense mechanisms, and the fact that it has been actively concealing its structure point toward one inevitable conclusion. This is a machine, a sentinel on a mission, and its purpose is still unfolding. As this object moves closer to the inner solar system, we may finally get the answers we've been waiting for. But one thing is for sure: this is no comet. This is something engineered, something with intelligence, and something that could change everything we know about space exploration. What is its ultimate destination? What is it trying to learn or even protect? The next few weeks and months will reveal answers, but only if we are paying close attention